What is going on, everybody? Been a diehard Pistons fan since '03 and eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In today's video, we will be doing a season preview for third-year guard Jaden Ivey. On this channel, we have been and will continue to do season previews for every player on the Pistons roster. We started with the youngest, and we're working our way up to the oldest, and today we are landing on Jaden Ivey. In these videos, what we typically do is talk a little bit about their previous season, go over 3 strengths to expect for the upcoming year, 1 weakness, a swing skill, and then predict where they will be at in the rotation. For today's video, I made a little bit of a minor adjustment. We're not going to do a weakness for Jaden Ivey, but instead talk about 2 swing skills, because I think the 2 things that I was going to mention for his weakness and swing skill, they're both swing skills and will dictate how this year goes for him. So to talk a little bit about his previous year, this could be an entire other video by itself. It was a very wild and inconsistent year, not only for Jaden Ivey's play, but his role with the team. He ended up finishing with 15.5 points per game to go along with 3.5 rebounds, 4 assists, while shooting 43% from the floor and 34% from the three-point line. He averaged 29 minutes per game, played in 77 games where he started 61 of them. Of course, at the very start of the year, he was not getting as many minutes as myself and other Pistons fans were hoping for the most part. By the end of the year, he was getting more opportunities, but it definitely wasn't as consistent as we all would have hoped. So to talk about his 3 strengths I wanted to mention for us to expect the upcoming year, the first one is highlighted in bold, underlined. It's his quick first step. Jaden Ivey's ability to just blow past defenders at will is top notch. Going from a standstill position to 1 step by someone is very elite. He is one of the quickest players in the NBA. Of course, he's athletic in other areas like his vertical leap, his lateral movement, all of that stuff is very, very good. But his quick first step off the bounce, it's top notch. There's very, very few players in the league that are able to compete with him in that category, and the guys that can are true stars like De'Aaron Fox or Ja Morant. His ability to get past people is evident. It's not a matter of can he get by a defender, because anyone who is too slow to guard him will get dusted, and even some of the best defenders in the league he can get by at will. The only issues that have ever came up is what happens once he gets past those guys. But his athletic ability to blow by a defender is very, very top of the line, and I don't expect that to go anywhere this upcoming year. If anything, it's only going to get better as he's getting closer and closer to what would be expected to be his athletic prime age. So, second strength I want to talk about is going to be his ability to get to the free throw line. Last year, per 36 minutes, Jaden Ivey averaged the most free throw attempts on the team. The only guy on the team that technically averaged more free throw attempts per 36 minutes was Alec Burks, but we're not going to count him because he was traded halfway through the year. I think that Jaden Ivey's ability to get to the free throw line is only going to get better. It typically does for young guards. As of right now, he uses that quick first step to blow past defenders, and once he gets into the paint, a lot of times he already has such an advantage created that the other team has no option but to foul him. Last year and his rookie year, he was at 75% from the free throw line. I would love to see that increase up to over 80%. I think that his ability to get to the free throw line is evident, and getting those free throws to go in at the highest rate as possible will help the team tremendously in the long run quietly. So the third strength I wanted to talk about is going to be his explosive defensive plays. Now, he averaged half a block per game last year, which might not sound like a ton, but for a 6'4" guard, it's definitely impressive. He averaged just about 1 steal per game as well. So his ability to actually make plays on the defensive end is very much there, and it's definitely a strength. It's not consistent as you would like, just different things, whether it be reaction time or not positioned in the perfect spot, definitely does exist, but he has the athletic tools and frame as a 6'4" guard with a long wingspan to really, really hone in on this ability to make these game-changing type of defensive plays, these momentum-shifting type of defensive plays. We've seen it before where he can block a shot and instantly be down the floor for a dunk in transition. just these really big momentum shifting defensive plays that lead to transition is something that you do expect from Jaden Ivey, and I only expect it to continue to grow throughout his career, especially this upcoming season. So, like I said, we're not going to cover a weakness today because he does have two things that I believe might be weaknesses, but I would rather categorize them as swing skills, and that's going to be his shooting and decision making. So, his shooting is definitely a bit of a weird one over the past 2 years. His rookie season, he shot 34% from the 3-point line on almost 5 attempts per game. And last year, he was at 34% as well. That's just rounding. There was a little bit of variance there, but overall, he's been a 34% three-point shooter through his first 2 seasons, while typically averaging 5 attempts per game. Now, that's not the best percentage in the world. It's slightly below league average, but it's also not nearly as bad. It's not the same conversation that we're going to be having when we talk about guys like Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson, because he's right there. A lot of times when people talk about the Pistons adding Fred Vincent onto this player development staff to improve shooting, everybody loves to talk about Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson because those guys really don't have a great jump shot at all. I mean, we're talking 24% and 18% last season from three-point land, respectively. The thing about this, though, is I think he might have a bigger impact on Ivey than anybody else on the roster because he's already so close. Right now, at 34% from three-point line, if he can get that up to 38%, 39%, and do it consistently, that will be huge. And I believe it's possible because there has definitely been month-long stretches where Jaden Ivey has been hot and shot the ball at that type of clip. Also, his mid-range shot has gotten better over the past couple of years. I think that's another thing to really focus on as well, because a lot of times teams will give him a lot of space in that mid-range and kind of play back because they know that if they don't, he can get right past them. So using that as a weapon, it could just open up his game entirely if he can improve his shot even just a little bit. So I definitely didn't want to call it a weakness because at 34% from 3, that's just slightly below league average, and his mid-range is rated about league average as well, or slightly below. So I didn't want to call it a flat-out weakness, especially when predicting this upcoming season. So I think it's more of a swing skill, because the day that teams are really worried about Jaden Ivey shooting the ball and they have to play high up on him is the day where Jaden Ivey can get past a defender even easier to the hoop. So would be huge. And the other one is his decision making. A lot of times over the past couple of years, it seems like Jaden Ivey is too fast for his own good. He gets into the paint, will leave his feet without a plan. But I think there's already been improvements in that category. It's just been inconsistent. And I think that over time, this is very common for young guards to get more comfortable with their ability to make decisions, make reads, be a little bit more nuanced with what they're going to do and know when they're going to do it, rather than, situations where Jaden Ivey would get under the hoop, leave his feet, and then have to pass out, and then it's a bad pass, things like that. It's just young guard stuff that fast young guards have to grow up and, learn to deal with a little bit better. And I think that both of these swing skills are more than likely going to improve on. So not at all worried about them. Wouldn't classify either of them as weaknesses, but I'd say the decision making and shooting improving is what could turn Jaden Ivey into a true co-star for Cade Cunningham. So now to predict where he will be at in the rotation, I think he's going to start. Would I be surprised at all if Beasley starting at the 2 instead? No, not whatsoever. Would I be surprised at all if Ausar is starting at the 2 instead? Not really. I mean, I wouldn't bet one way or the other on it, but just from hearing Bickerstaff talk about him wanting to leave one of his 2 dynamic players on the floor at all times, whether that be Cade or Ivey, I think that Ivey will get probably 32 minutes a game this year, 30 minutes a game this year. We do have a lot of shooting guard depth, but I don't foresee a situation where he doesn't have more minutes per game than he did last year at 28. I think that he'll be either starting, if not playing starting minutes, one of the 2, whatever works best for them to stagger Cade and Ivey. I think that's what they'll go with, but I think that he will be on the floor a lot and probably given more opportunity than he received last year, as long as the strengths that we talked about continue to be strengths, which I'm sure they will be, and these swing skills are moving in the right direction. I think Ivey will have all of the opportunity in the world this upcoming season. So let me know what you guys think, what you expect from Jaden this upcoming year. I'm super excited to see where Jaden Ivey goes. I haven't wavered on him one bit. I know last year was a little bit inconsistent, whether that be with his role or his play. I haven't changed my outlook on him. I still think that he has all of the potential in the world, and I'm really excited to see how this year goes for him. Catch up with y'all soon.